Brandon Scott here on the Slant, joined by Texans linebacker Blake Cashman. And Blake, I got to thank you for being here. You're one of the more popular players on the Texans squad this year, so I appreciate you spending some time with us, especially close to the holiday season.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here.
Yeah, man, we're glad to have you. And I got to start with something that's pretty lighthearted, but I cannot unsee this after Sunday's game. I was talking with another one of my media colleagues, and I think this was his first time being up close with you. He was in one of those media scrums with you after the game. And he says to me, he covers the Astros too, and he says, Blake Cashman looks like a more muscular version of Lance McCullers, the pitcher for the Houston Astros, of course. And so I got to ask you, if someone told you that, do you have a celebrity look-alike? Have you heard that you and Lance McCullers look like y'all could sit at the same Thanksgiving table?
I've never gotten that one before. Growing up, a lot of people compared me to Shark Boy.
Shark Boy?
He was played by Taylor Lautner, just because growing up, I had the spiky hair. So people compare me to him. Surprisingly, when I have a hat on and I got my earrings in and whatnot, some people recently have started to say I look like the Dak Prescott too, which I don't necessarily see that one, but maybe with the new buzz cut fade, a backwards hat on, that's one I started to get a little bit this past year.
Okay, I'm a little bit distracted now because now I can't unsee the. A few days ago, it was I can't see the Lance McCullers comparison, and now I can't unsee the Dak Prescott comparison. So now that's going to be stuck with me. That's really fascinating. Now, I want to ask you about Thanksgiving since it's coming up, since it's here among us, right? What are the top three things that go on the Blake Cashman Thanksgiving plate? And for a moment here, I need you to forget that you're a professional athlete and that you have to abide by a certain diet and all of that. In an ideal scenario, if you can sort of pig out like the rest of us, what are the top three things on a Blake Cashman Thanksgiving plate?
Well, I'm not a picky eater, for starters. Anything that you put on my plate, my face, I'll pretty much eat it. But you got to have meat on there. I love the dark turkey, the darker meat on the turkey. But sometimes people get it wrong. I can't stand when meat is too dry. It takes all the flavor out. So if cooked right, the dark meat on a turkey. I love the the sweet potato or yams with the marshmallow on top.
Oh yeah, gotta have it.
I mean it's like a dessert, but it's kind of part of the main. So
yeah, that's a main, man. You gotta have that on the plate.
I love that, and then I'd probably say some great mac and cheese with the kind of like the crust on top, or whatever I'm talking about, but extra cheesy. Probably my top three right there.
Yeah, not that microwavable nonsense. It's got to be made from scratch. Got to have some tender love and care as a part of it.
Absolutely.
All right, now I got to ask you the other side of that. This is kind of a controversial topic for people, so I hope you're willing to go down this road. But what's the one thing that you don't want? I know you said you're not a picky eater, but what's one thing that's common at a Thanksgiving meal, either something that you've experienced or heard or seen before that you just absolutely want no parts of?
I feel like a lot of people answer this question and they say the stuffing. I feel like that's a common answer. I like stuffing, but it's very hit or miss. I think the those green bean casseroles.
Okay, not a green bean casserole guy.
I like green beans, but I just think it's overrated.
Yeah.
Honestly, I might just prefer just straight green beans.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most overrated dish.
All right, cool. Those are all acceptable. I'm probably less of a picky eater than you, though, because I take every single one of those things that you mentioned, put them all on my plate at one time.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I would, too.
Have you made it out to a Culvers yet? I saw a previous interview with you, heard a previous interview with you where you're a big Culvers guy, but did not realize that they are actually here in Houston. Now, you got to go on a pretty big trek to find one. They're not in the city limits, nowhere near NRG Stadium, but have you made your way there, and what is it about Culvers that you like so much?
I I'm disappointed to say, but unfortunately, I haven't made it to a Culvers yet. And you're right, I had no idea they were in Texas until I did that interview. But
I expect you to have a better scouting report than that. I'm gonna be honest
I
with
know,
you, man.
right?
You're one of the more cerebral guys on the team. We love talking to you about football. So it surprised me a little bit that you had not done better scouting than that.
Hey,
I gotta
making
say.
me feel bad, but I had to agree with you. I'm disappointed in myself. But I will get to a Culvers at some point. But gaining the information, like you said it's kind of a trek outside the city, and I live within the city limits. So I might have to save that for the off season. And besides, I don't think Lad or Jacob here on our nutrition team would appreciate me eating Culvers right now.
Yeah, I can respect that. Let's go into your background a little bit. Your Minnesota background. Pronounce the name of the town that you're from for me.
Eden Prairie.
Eden Prairie. Now, Eden Prairie to me, having not been there, sounds like one of those places where if you go there, if it's anything like the towns in Texas, if you go there and win as much as you won in high school, state championships, very little losing, it sounds like the type of place that you could go back to and never have to pay for a meal or a drink in public. You're a celebrity everywhere. You go in that town. Forget being an NFL player for a second. You didn't have to make it as far and have as much success as you're having right now to be able to go back to that place and still be a star. Do I have that correct? That's how it would be if you were from a town here in Texas. Is it like that in Minnesota at Eden Prairie? Can you go there and essentially run for mayor?
I wouldn't go that far, but there are a lot of places, just from growing up in the community for so long that, I'll run into people, some people that I, forgot about, honestly, because it's been so long, and I might have only had a brief, encounter, relationship with them. But, there's a saying in Minnesota that people are Minnesota nice. So, people are very quick to, show love and, happiness for, somebody that's in my position to, be a good athlete and student and young individual in the community to go on and have a successful journey and to be living out their dream.
You almost didn't play college football. You walked on at Minnesota, but this almost didn't happen. Why is that, and why did it happen?
There's a lot of things that went into, those thoughts. The main thing was in high school when I started the recruiting process, I didn't have much attention on me. Didn't have any offers. I was struggling even to get Division II schools to look at me. And that was really, really discouraging. And so, I was looking at my options and what kind of college experience I wanted to have. And I always, dreamed of going far away from Minnesota, just have a brand new experience and, something that could, change your life. But as I started my senior season and I, asked people in our, athletics, office to, help me get some exposure, I quickly realized if I don't stick with football or even just a sport in general, because I did consider going to a school to play football and basketball.
Right. Like your dad.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so as I was going through my senior season, I quickly realized if I don't, continue to pursue, my number one love, and that's, football, sports, I would definitely look back and, have that regret and, wonder what my experience in college would be like if I would, would have played sports, athletics.
You mentioned a little bit about getting attention and exposure just a moment ago. I think it's fair to say, especially after winning AFC Defensive Player of the Week earlier in the year, had a big interception in the third game of the year. I think it's fair to say that you're a lot more well-known now than you were going into the season. What has that been like for you personally?
All that is exciting. It's great. I always tell people to get, the accolades, the recognition, because, each player does put in a lot of work and a lot of time to, have success on the field. That's what everyone wants. We're all, really, tough, hard competitors. Also for me, just my journey, I've, struggled a bit and just had to, remain patient and resilient and to continue to the grind and the process that it is to be in the NFL. And I knew believed I would get that opportunity again to get on the field and start making plays. So that all feels great, but honestly, like, none of that matters because, what the focus is winning football games. And my first 4 years in the league, I didn't, wasn't a part of a team that won many football games. So now that we're starting to get rolling here and things are going well, now I'm tasting what it's like to win in this league, and it's addicting. And the only thing that's really on my mind and on this team's mind is win the division and getting in the playoffs.
What type of locker room presence are you? I've been in the locker room a little bit, but I'm obviously not there as much. Are you more of a hype guy, rah-rah guy? Or you like, what is your? And I'm asking now because you've elevated some. You've got a little bit of a presence. What is it like for you in the locker room with your teammates?
Just in general, or like on game day?
Yeah, well, in general, but especially on game day.
Well, for on game day, I'm kind of going through my process, my routine. I wouldn't say I'm a very loud player. I'm not, dancing, singing, giving a rah-rah speech. When we do break into like our position groups or just a defense, like if I feel like there's something that needs to be said, and especially with a role that I had like last week as a Mike linebacker or just being a starting linebacker, I feel like you have to speak up at times. So I will do that. But, in the locker room, I'm the same Cash to everybody. I definitely, doesn't matter who you are, what position you play, how close a relationship I have to you. Like I'll always, make conversation with everyone, and I like to joke around and have fun with all the guys because it's those relationships and that camaraderie with your teammates that, makes playing in the NFL, playing out your dream so special.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot on this a little bit because we all know one of the things that opposing offenses are trying to do is put the defense in conflict. They're trying to find you guys in compromising positions, maybe have you take risks that you shouldn't, that sort of thing. Maybe they'll take a risk that they shouldn't. But take it off the field for a second. I just want to ask you the first thing that comes up to your mind. It can be football, non-football related. What's the biggest risk that you've ever taken in your life? What would you say is the biggest risk Blake Cashman has taken? How did it go?
Honestly, I would say the biggest risk I've taken was walking on at Minnesota. As a 18-year-old kid, I had probably more people telling me, I wasn't going to be anything and I'm making a horrible decision than I did people, believing in me and supporting me. And something I always say is, I had a lot of people that probably supported me, but they didn't always believe in me, until I had to go make it happen. But there was some anxiety that came with making that decision because, I wondered, is this the right decision? Am I good enough to play in the Big Ten where, I turned down some really great Division II offers that had great football programs. I turned down even good schools at the D3 level where I could have played football and basketball. So I felt like I had other options that, I knew were a sure thing, but I gambled on myself and, did something that I maybe didn't have as much confidence in at the moment.
How do you as a person reconcile support with lack of belief? Like that's got to feel kind of conflicting for you. It's like this person likes me, but they don't really believe.
The way I've always put it is like, there's people around me that, support me where like, hey, you're doing great work. We want to see you win. But in their hearts, like, they probably don't believe to their core that like I can actually get to that level. But hey, they're going to support me because it's what they can see. That's my passion and my love, and that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So they're, they care for me. They want to support me, but to their core, they probably don't believe me because even when I've had success at the collegiate level and in the professional level, I have had those people that have supported me be like, oh wow, like I can't believe you've gotten this far. And like hearing those things are conflicting themselves. It's like, man, you always like, supported me, but like that tells me that to your core, deep down, like you didn't really believe I could accomplish, even though that you supported me. That's the way I see it.
Made a believer out of me, man. Blake Cashman, Texans linebacker. Good to talk to you. Last thing we need you to do before you get out of here, man. You got to join that wall. You got to sign your name on that wall. You got teammates up there.
Oh, yeah.
You got some legends up there. We got a marker for you right here. But you find a spot that you're most comfortable with. And you can figure out where you want to be situated. But we got to get Blake Cashman on this wall.
I'll go right here. There we go.
All right. Blake Cashman, Texans linebacker, here joining us on the Slant. Appreciate it, man.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.